Good evening. Happy Monday. May the 4th be with you. Eh. Anyway, couple quick little things to do. We've got two more videos I'm going to give you for this next section. And that'll be it for that section. And then we've got one more section that I'm going to cover part of. And then, of course, that'll be it. So, anyway, hope everybody's well. Let's just jump into it. We are on the last page, and these are the last two, numbers 5 and 6 on your outline. The first one is seller expectations. This is pretty simple. Just think about a company who, most companies, when they produce amounts, they figure out, when you think about something like toilet paper, okay, Charmin did not see this COVID thing coming, obviously, so they didn't ramp up production. But if they had, they would have. So they got caught short, I guess. And because demand exceeded supply, they were stuck and they didn't know what to do. So, until you get your production back up, you're kind of, in trouble there. But basically, think of it, seller expectations as what the seller expects to sell. Okay. Something like toilet paper is a really good example normally of, you can just use, what do you use? And here's what I'd look at. You'd look at past sales. Last year, people used this amount of toilet paper per person. The next year, they'll use the same. They're still using the same amount. It's just a matter of some people hoarding it. So past sales can be good for something like that, for peanut butter and bath towels and things like that. But some things it's not. When you think about high fashion, you guys that are fashion people, your taste change. And, there's this many jeans, yes, and this many shirts, but what color, what pattern, short sleeve, long sleeve, design and all that kind of stuff can be very different. So it's difficult to determine that. So sometimes they use past sales, sometimes they use forecasts, and I don't mean like the weather forecast, but more like, in the next 10 years, ask yourself this question. I think I'm going to give you this as a question. In the next 10 years, 5 to 10 years, how will taste change? What will companies have to do? I kind of like that. Just thought of that. When you think about, answer this question in your head, and then, like I said, I'll give you some writing. What, in the next 5 to 10 years, the United States will be more blank. Okay, think about that. Lots of different ways to go there. And if you go this way, then companies have to adjust. If they go this way, they have to adjust a different way. And many companies who are, household names may not exist, or may not exist in the same form, whether it's just general trends or whether it's this COVID thing, which is going to hurt some people, obviously. I've heard story or talk that department stores, just in general, Macy's, Penny's, etc., are not going to survive this. So we'll see how it goes. But seller expectations are what the seller thinks they're going to sell. So use past sales, use forecasts, use surveys. When you think about, you're asked to do surveys either online or at a mall or not so much for you anymore, but over the phone, where they're trying to figure out, do people like this flavor? Do people like this color and all this kind of stuff? And then that tells them what to make and what not to make. And then the last thing I would look at there is that sellers often look at the competition. I forget who it was, but somebody in the last couple of years has introduced it was Steak and Shake, a burger that's buttered, which is, obviously a response to Culver's. Coke and Pepsi are notorious for back and forth. They come up with one drink, and here's Coke Zero, here's Pepsi Max, and so on. Apple and Samsung often trade sort of advancements in features on phones, and they're copying off of each other and everything else. So that's expectations. Relationship easy. If my expectations rise as a producer, I'm going to produce more. If they drop, I'm going to produce less. So think about, right now, there's not a lot of demand for jet fuel, or plane trips, so I don't need as many meals for the planes. I don't need as much gas, and so on and so forth. Okay, so simple there. The last one, number of sellers. I want you to think about either fads. Okay, think about some of the fads you've been in. We do a thing in class if we had time where we go through, name all these fads you can think of in the last 10 years. And I mean, my gosh, silly bands and the Live Strong and slap bracelets and hairstyles and ways of saying things, shoes, Birkenstocks, Uggs. You know, I may do some of that too. It's kind of fun. Or think about trends. Probably more realistic, but fads, they're fun to talk about. But trends, in the past 5 years, since you've been paying attention, basically, have there been more or less blank? Think about like TV makers. How many people make DVD players anymore? Not as many because of, streaming and all that. How many people stream? More than used to. You think about Disney getting in and Hulu rising more and HBO and so on and so forth, doing specific things. A good example of creative destruction, if you remember back from the last section, where something dies and something else rises to take its place. And then, with this COVID, you got more people working on the vaccine, you got more people making masks, you got more people making ventilators, more people making Zoom. Zoom would not have been nearly the thing without COVID. It's almost like they caused it in a secret laboratory. But anyway, when you think about number of sellers, basically when some trend or fad happens, everybody wants to jump on. You guys that are sport people think about jumping on the bandwagon, and you get what are called knockoffs. And here's Google Hangout, here's Zoom, here's whatever, and they'll all be like this. And you'll have masks. You've seen designer masks and fun masks and real heavy fancy masks and simple masks and so on. These are all examples of number of sellers increasing to meet a trend in this case, hopefully a short-term trend. So easy relationship there. If the number of sellers goes up, supply goes up. And when supply goes up in this case, two things happen. Number one, typically price drops and selection or option goes up. When you think about televisions, how much is a good TV? If you have no idea, look it up. But you can get a really nice TV. I don't know what you got at your house, $300 or $400. Now it's not going to be every single fancy thing you can buy for thousands or whatever, but you can also buy a dorm TV for probably $120 or something like that. And that meets all tastes. When you think about Walmart being able to sell big screen TVs, and Target, and then you move up to Macy's and you move up to the electronic stores and obviously online and all that. And that's the other thing, number of, how many people sell televisions online or whatever it is. And that just gives you a world of selection. It tends to drop price and so on and so forth. Okay, so those are your two things there. Next time, I'm going to make a video showing graphing and what happens, because supply is a little different here than demand. And like I said, that will take care of us for the section. So expect a quick little assignment, nothing difficult, in the next, probably it'll be available on Wednesday. All right, bye-bye.